Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have you a 3 versus 3 on Pointe du Hoc, and in this one I'm going to be using the 2nd Armoured French Division. I'm playing with Wolf and Spaffman, who are going to be using the 15th Infantry Scots Division, and we are playing against a 21st Panzer Division, 17th SS Panzer Grenadier and 12th SS Panzer Divisions. So should definitely be a good one. Let's change this to my point of view, and I'll talk you guys through the replay from my perspective, as I believe that it shows off this game to its fullest potential. There was very interesting strategies that were going on throughout this one, so there's a lot to talk about and a lot to criticize on both sides of things, but there we go. Let's just speed things up, see what I place down onto the field. Now, it's been a while since I played the 2nd Armoured. They obviously have been nerfed in the last patch, and I've really noticed it in this game, that's for sure. However, my strategy was also pretty different to usual. So if we just slow it down quick, you can see that I am going to be starting with 3 Stuarts. Now, since the M8 Greyhounds aren't as strong as they once were, I believe using the extra armour of the Stuarts is actually extremely helpful against certain decks. And since we're playing against the 3 different German decks, I thought that the Stuarts would probably fare better against each of them than the double Greyhound command car push that people normally go for. Now, that sort of push can be very easily countered by multiple AT guns, and generally that's what the 17th SS Panzer Grenadiers would start with. Also, the 12th SS Panzer tends to favour that as well. By the way, we're off, and I also have the combination of the Nerva with the Command Infantry, and I also have a Spy Recon squad in there. I've got a Spy heading to the centre as well. I did leave myself a little bit short in between myself and the centre, but I felt that it was necessary for me to gain control of this left side town so that I could really make a good impact in the game, and hopefully my teammate would be able to hold in the centre enough that the front line wouldn't collapse so much. So I've definitely invested a lot in this left side, and my intention was to then sort of reinforce to the right side afterward. So here we are, coming up with the Spy getting into position to recon down the road, and what is this coming towards me? Multiple armoured cars. So we got the baited 222 rush. You can see that they are using the 3-star 222s with the command car SPW223. I focused down the command car first just to get rid of that and make sure that all of those 222s are now 2-star veterancy. Then I need to get rid of the AT gun they brought along, so I'm going to be charging that next. And well, it was a good job that I brought multiple M5A1s, or I might have just been overrun then, because those 222s have a much better chance at killing the M8 Greyhounds than they do the Stuarts. And as you can see, the Stuarts are now having a field day onto all of these light vehicles. I can kill off the 231, the 222s, the U304s, and that's pretty much what I'm doing at this point. Also got the half tracks on the go, but what is this? Multiple 259s coming round for the flank. So this is a second player. I believe they may have been working together, but either way I'm now being flanked by multiple armoured cars, and there is a pack ahead of me. So what do I want to do? Well, first of all, I want to try and get rid of this if I can, so I'm going to try and fast move as quickly as I can towards it, and maybe I can overrun it. That's the plan. So as they all get close to the edge here, I'm just going to attack them, move them round, and boom, one shot, kill. Great. Kill the recon squad. Now these fellas are a problem. So what I've got to do is fast move in the opposite direction to save my 50 cal squad against all of these auto cannons. There's also a Firefly on the way from the other player, so I'm just going to have to avoid that as well. My 50 cal gets demolished, but hopefully my Stuarts can do the job here, and certainly they will. Now with all these Stuarts, they are only 1-star veterancy, so they're not the most accurate guns in the world, so they do destroy one there and then struggle to kill off the rest. I end up having to basically be happy with killing 2 of them and then waiting to kill the rest. So there goes the second. 222 is making a push here, trying to be a bit cheeky. Comes across my M5A1 half track with the 50 cal and just takes that out really nice and easy. My Nuva does not have a bazooka, so I can't use that to take out the 222, and if I try and move the Voltigeurs to the next house, I'm not sure I'm entirely going to be able to reach the 222 from there. So I was in a bit of a predicament as to what to do with the Nuva. Ultimately I probably shouldn't have moved them so they remained hidden and didn't get hit by the 222, but at the end of the day that's what I had to do. I'm letting the M3A3 and the M5A1s get on target there onto the half track briefly. But now what I'm doing is bringing up 2 of the M8 Greyhounds just to spot the rest of the armoured cars and light vehicles so that my Stuarts can continue the job, and you can see they brought up another one of these pack guns. So I'm just going to be trying to hit that with the M8 Greyhounds whilst the Stuarts take care of the 259 there. Letting my AT guns get into position. I'm hoping they will be able to help me out with the 222s. So basically, they've gone for the overwhelming 222 and 259 rush onto me. That was 2 players. And, well, we've done pretty well at holding it back with these 3 Stuarts. So now I'm fighting the Panzer 35. I do lose one of my Stuarts there to the enemy pack. The last 259 is now dead. One of my AT guns goes down to the 222, but the second AT gun repays that kill and also gets the kill onto the Panzer 35. So although I did just lose a couple of vehicles there, well, the Stuart and the AT gun, I repaid the kills quite nicely. I think I'm in a pretty good position. I've just got to take care of this Panzer 35. Another one of my Stuarts is going to go down, but I do have 2 3-star M8s alongside this M3A3, and I'm also bringing over the AT gun to get into line of sight. So I'm hoping that the M8s can actually fire on target. The Firefly does show itself on the right side here, but realises I do have this AT gun here, which is very dangerous for that Firefly. I'm just going to try and maintain the fire onto that Panzer 35, and we do actually pick up the kill thanks to the Greyhounds. Now as you can see, I have lost a massive hole in our front line here because I didn't actually bring up much infantry to cover this off at the start, so the APCs have run rampant straight through our front line, and that was really my bad. I probably shouldn't have done or let that happen at all, because it's really put us in a bad spot, a +2 for the enemy at the moment. So ideally at the start of the game I definitely should have had something here that covered the front line, if it was an AT gun or maybe just a command infantry squad with a bazooka, because then at least I would have been able to cover the road to stop the APCs and light vehicles from penetrating so far. And the M10 has come up, takes out the 222 and is now moving towards the 259 that is left. My infantry is engaging the enemy infantry, so that should hopefully work out for me. Moving out the Greyhound here to engage another one of the Panzer 35s that the opponents have brought up. I knocked out the driver, so I get another second shot in there. Got to be a little bit careful with that engagement though. So now coming up with the 50 cal here. Going to try and get a decent shot onto the 259 and make that retreat. Going to drop out the infantry just in case the autocannon gets a cheeky shot onto my half track. Do take out Panzer 35 with the help of the Stuart and the AT gun, so that was very nice. And I brought up a third AT gun now to protect this left side. I've been under very heavy attack from 2 players. and somehow I've managed to hold my ground. So I'm doing relatively good at the moment. Still a lot of pressure going on to my teammate in the centre, although he doesn't have a very great composition of forces here to really push back. So it's kind of just playing very defensive when we're actually quite far back in the centre, which wasn't great. And over on the right side, well, Wolf unfortunately got his forces ruined quite easily, and that left us again in a pretty bad spot. By the way, I'm just running around with all of my greyhounds and the command Stuart here to try and do as much damage to infantry and half tracks as I can. Got to be very careful about pushing against this deck now, because they do have the Panzerfaust on their infantry. Now the mortar carrier does take out one of my AT guns. Whether or not that was purposeful or not is a different matter entirely. I think it was, because there was an Aufklärer squad in this tree line. So the enemy did a great job of identifying that and taking it out. However, I probably shouldn't have let that get killed so easily. So they're trying to move up with this pack. Half tracks coming down the road there as well. I'm going to try and get these guys into cover so that they can regain their morale. My infantry's arrived with the half tracks. I'm going to be starting to engage some of this infantry. The 50 cal half track there with 3 stars going to tear to pieces that Panzer Grenadier squad alongside the M10. So that was a nice amount of damage put down onto that infantry there. My Spey gets into a really nice spot, and well, 2 shots from a mortar takes out another one of my AT guns. Now in this French deck, I only have 3 AT guns. Otherwise I'm relying purely on M10s, and that really actually let me down in this game. I didn't actually realise that I would wish so much to have more AT guns. By the way, here a Pack 38 going to go down to the double Greyhound Stuart, and these 2 new Stuarts that I brought up, these M5A1s, are engaging the pack up the road. I take out the 259, I finish off the pack, and that's another couple of really nice kills onto the enemy. But at this point, still taking on 2 players. Now you may ask why I'm still focusing so hard on this left side, but I believe that if I could continue to hold off against 2 players, then my teammates might be able to push elsewhere on the map. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case in this game, and although I was racking up a lot of kills and getting a lot of strategic advantage at the start of the game, I couldn't really capitalise on it. I'm trying to clean up the break in our front line here. Got the infantry up, and I've moved the Voltigers down. These guys should have really been on the tree line with the Nerva, and then the Nerva wouldn't have been hit so hard. But what's going to happen here is the Tripolston's actually going to open up onto the Firefly, cause a lot of morale damage. And that's going to allow the 6-pounder to hit this Firefly straight in the side armour. And the Firefly is actually bailed out. So we also get the bailout onto that Firefly, and the 6-pounder finally gets the kill in the end. Up here, however, my Stuart has bumped into the Pointe du Shermans. So the 21st Panzer Division there going to be using these Pointe du Shermans. I did unfortunately lose one of my Greyhounds as well. So what I'm going to try and do is swing my Stuarts over to the right side, so I'm out of line of sight with the Pointe du Sherman, and continued my fire onto the enemy infantry instead. Finally getting the bazooka onto the half track there, I'm going to make that surrender. And I've got the M10 moving up to take on this half track as well. So recovering the front line, still a +1 for the enemy, and 57% territory. Mainly due to the right side falling apart for Wolf, unfortunately, and now he's focusing on buying multiple 25-pounders, not the best buy ever, and especially keeping them so clustered up was definitely not a good idea. There's an overinvestment of artillery there when he definitely could have used more infantry in order to cover the front line and push forwards. By the way, over on this left side, what I'm trying to do here is just have my Stuarts in an ambush position. Then what I was going to do is try and rush this Sherman, but as I engage the Sherman with multiple of my Stuarts, which would normally be fine, another Sherman pops up with a Panzer IV, and goodbye to another M5A1. I get out of the way of that as soon as possible. My Greyhound is also in a bit of a sticky situation, so I'm going to hide that behind the building. But yeah, Panzer IV, Pointe du Sherman out of nowhere. Going to stop that push in its tracks. I was hoping for a quick Sherman kill there, and then maybe I would have been able to sneak further forwards, but I hadn't realised it had actually moved into Phase B at this point, because I'd spent so long fighting and cleaning up all of those light vehicles and half tracks at the start of the game. And this worked incredibly well in their favour, because they made so much ground early on, especially against my French deck, that it meant that as we move through the phases towards Phase C, I'm basically trying my best to get a lead as quickly as possible, but if we don't get a lead, then we're going to move into Phase C, and my French deck is going to be absolutely useless. So how can I deal with this? Well, I have my Stuarts in a pretty decent position. I'm going to try and take out as many infantry as I can here and there. I take a rocket strike into all of my infantry here, but that's not too much of an issue as long as they're not pushing it. So I've just got to get into just decent positions, really. I've brought up Command M4A2, and I've also got the M10 and the M4A 376mm, so they're going to engage the Pointe du Sherman up the road. My Stuarts are going to engage the 222, and we're going to take that out, and I'm also going to force the Pointe du Sherman to retreat. I managed to pick off the Panzer IV, and this Panzer Grenadier does manage to get a Panzerfaust into the side of one of my Stuarts, which was unfortunate. So I'm trying to use recon here to take advantage of my 1200 meter range to be able to take out the Brumbar and the Pointe du Sherman that are sitting at the top of the road. That's the plan at the moment. Then I can use the M8 Greyhound Spy to actually find and take out enemy infantry. These Panzer Grenadiers come into the tree line there and do get hit very hard. The Pointe du Sherman retreating from the tree line does get taken out. So still doing loads of damage to my opponent and still making back ground between myself and my centre ally. Here the half track, gonna get one shot by the AT gun. That was basically always gonna happen. Although if that AT gun had missed, my half track definitely would have killed it off. Still have the Voltigers here, so I'm going to try and charge the Pack 40 down. Pack 40 can actually shoot at my command infantry, so I've got to be a little bit careful. But I just left them on an attack move order to try and take out the Pack 40. Probably not the best idea, since the Pack 40 could just turn and kill those, especially with the support of a 251-17, which is basically the AA half-track with the 20mm on it. Up here you can see I'm still engaging the Brumbar and the Pointe du Sherman. There is a half-track in the way. That's going to get hit as well. And goodbye to that. Opening more of a front on this left side. So at the moment, I was thinking of maybe pushing through to the top right. However, seeing all of these troops here, I'm pretty certain that my opponents have that all covered. I'm just pushing where I know I have an advantage, which is here with all of my tanks. I've got the two Stuarts, well, one Stuart now. I've got the Command M4A2, I've got the M8 Greyhound, I've got the M10, the M4A 376mm, and another M10 there. The Focke-Wulf 190 comes in with the 15HE bomb. Does actually manage to force my M8 Greyhound back, which was really annoying because that's my only recon for all of these tanks, and without that I can't really approach any of the tree lines without being hit by Panzerfaust. So that's something that I really need to be aware of, and I really need that back as soon as possible. enemy artillery coming in again, the rocket strike hitting my units hard, and basically I'm seeing what's coming here. What they want to do is try and ambush me best they can. So this has got the Pointe du Hoc here. Fortunately my M10 is still perfectly fine in terms of morale. However, they brought up a Pak 43, and this is in the perfect position right now to start picking off all of these retreating units. So there goes an M10, my M4A3 is dead. This tank, the Pointe du Hoc and the Pak 43 started to have a real field day. This was a really nice strike. The rocket strike there, panicking all my troops. The M8 Greyhound goes down, there goes my recon. And what can I do about this? I really need to stop this Pak 43 firing, because it just took out another one of my tanks, the Stuart going down there as well. We're bringing this Spitfire, desperately trying to stun that Pak 43 before it could do any more damage, but another Sherman going to go down, the command one as well. So I'm just not in a very good position. I did manage to take out a Stug with my M10, and the M10 is going to engage the Pointe du Hoc and take that out as well. I'm engaging the ME-109 in the sky here, hoping my Spitfire can win that duel with the 50 cal support from my own forces, but since I'm so close to their spawn, this ME-109 is going to come in and shoot down my Spitfire. So yeah, not only did I lose all of those tanks to that wonderful ambush, but I also lost my Spitfire to that engagement too. Now I briefly spotted the Panther here, and as you can see I am bringing over the Voltigeurs squad to try and ambush that and stop them from flanking my M10 and the M4A3. So that's the plan at the moment, just trying to make sure that works. You can see they're using the ME-109s to try and affect the morale of the M10 before they attack with the Panther D, but I don't think they quite anticipated that I would have the Voltigeurs right there, and with a bazooka shot straight into the front armour, the Panther D is dead. So that was quite a nice amount of points picked up by me, just taking out that Panther. So still trying to make back some ground here. However, without the half-track support, it's going to be very hard for me to push against this half-track. I do of course have the M10 here, and I definitely should have been trying to be more aggressive here with my infantry and the M10 in conjunction. However, I was so focused on this left side that it didn't leave me much chance to focus elsewhere on the map, since I am obviously being attacked by two players for the majority of the game. In the centre, Spaff was unfortunately playing very defensive, and Wolf was being pushed back the entire time. And that wasn't very helpful. And currently our enemy is running a +1 still, with 1,790 points to their name. So here comes the M10. That's going to get a one-shot kill onto the half-track, so we get rid of that. That's now going to allow me to move forwards with the Voltigeurs and the M10 to do a little combined push and make some more ground for us. So I can't really push over on the left anymore. This Pak 43 is in the way, and I can't really afford to sacrifice any more of my tanks, so just trying to get my units into position. Obviously the Pak 43 can see my Greyhound, so I'm going to get that out of the way. Going to be bringing in the DB-73 to go for the bombing run onto the Pak 43. Pak 43 actually manages to break the tracks of my M4A3, which was unfortunate, and my bombing strike does land on the mark, but with the two ME-109s in play, that's not going to last very long, and as you can see it does go down. Now Spaff did have these two Spitfires as well, however as you can see when they engage each other it's not working out too well. However, I do have an extra Spitfire, and I use that to get the jump onto one of the ME-109s. I get onto the second one, and we shoot that one down as well. And then Spaffman finishes off the Ju-87 with my help. This Ju-87 though, did finish off the M4A3. Pretty nice kill for that aircraft. Just going to come in for a quick strafing run onto some of the half tracks there as they move across the road. See if I can get a cheeky half track kill, because these 50 cals on the Spitfires can sometimes penetrate those half tracks and blow them up. We're almost bringing it back to 50%. I've pushed quite hard on this left side. I'm definitely well over halfway on my side of things, but I can't push any further, and that's the main issue. And since we've now moved into phase C, I'm up against Panthers when the best I have is M10s. The M10s with their 8 armor are really no match for Panthers, or even Stugs for that matter. And Stugs are generally perceived to be a counter for the M10s. So yeah, you're in a bit of a sticky situation now with the French division, but I'm trying to pick off units where I can. I managed to get a kill onto the Panzer IV in the middle, which was a pretty nice pickup. So just trying to push through here. The Voltigeurs do jump into these Panzer Grenadiers and the MG42. Fortunately, these M10s do have the 50 cals, which really helped me out in this situation. This Panzer Grenadier squad's trying to ambush my M10, and this is exactly why you want to be doing this combination of having infantry alongside your tanks. Because if I didn't have infantry then, I probably would have just lost the M10 for free. But since I do have the infantry covering me in the tree line, I'm not going to lose it so easily. Bombing strike does come in there onto my recon once again. That's going to actually push my M8 Greyhound into the path of a Befehl Panther, and well, it was lucky to get away from 2 shots, but it's now moving into line of sight of a 3rd, which is less than ideal. The Befehl Panther, is it going to be missing this time? Definitely not. Definitely used up all of its luck. You see I've moved around the M10 to get a better position onto these Panzer Grenadiers. I've made 1 unit of Panzer Grenadiers surrender with the Voltigeurs. I've just got to try and get rid of the 2nd. And I've also got some reinforcing infantry coming up with another M10. But this is the last thing that I need to see at the moment. A Königsdäger. And a 3-star vetted one for that matter. Just going to be shunting that Sherman out of the way and engaging my Spey. So I'm trying to think of a way that I can deal with this Königsdäger. Now, best bet at this point would have been to have an AT gun, doesn't really matter the AP, just in a really good ambushing position, or maybe even like a Panzerfaust, or a bazooka, sorry. But I don't really have many units that are specialised for that role. I really only have sapeurs, and other than that I have M10s. So I can either get an M10 into a good position to ambush, or I can try and use sapeurs. So first of all I try and get a cheeky side shot onto the Befehl Panther, but the Befehl Panther actually aims very quickly onto my M10 and destroys it, so that didn't work out. So now I'm in a bit of a predicament. I've got a couple of half tracks coming up with some new infantry, but this combined push that they have going now is pretty deadly, especially for my deck. I'm running low on pretty much everything at this point that can do damage to what they have. I don't really have anything that can take on a Befehl Panther or a Königsdäger. I didn't make enough ground early on in the game to really hold this off. So that was very unfortunate. The way I saw it was, if my teammates had joined me and we had like this whole line the whole way across, push forwards, we would have been on like a +2 lead from the majority of the game, and then by now it wouldn't have been so much of an issue. However, they are running to 2,100 points at this point, and I have nothing I can use to stop the push of the Phase C Panzerdecks. My M10's still trying to do its best, and do manage to pick off the Pioneer squad there inside the U-304. Take out another half track there. This M10 actually got its engine destroyed by the Befehl Panther earlier. Still manages to get quite a nice few kills considering. Now the Befehl Panther, Going to be here taking out one of my M10s. Going to actually bounce off my second one. I let it fire and then move it out of line of sight. However, what's going to happen is the Focke-Wulf is going to come in with the 15HE bomb, make my M10 fall back. Now my M10's going to fall back into the line of sight of the Befehl Panther, the Königstiger, and a Panzer IV. My command infantry go down there. I couldn't keep them hidden, so really couldn't ambush the Panzer IV. And now this machine gun's also getting hit very hard. So there you go, the M10 really in the worst place ever. Just gonna surrender before it gets wrecked by those tanks. And I think if I saw a Königstiger, a Befehl Panther, and a Panzer IV, I would surrender too. I don't blame him. Now I have these sappers in position, and the idea with these fellas is to literally kill these tanks as they move forwards and stop him from taking too much ground. So, well, there goes the Panzer IV. That was thanks to the M10. The satchel charge was thrown by the sappers. I'm bringing in more sappers to the left side buildings, again, just to stop them pushing all the way through. Because I'm still holding at 50-50 here. Like, the 50% line is about here, I think. So, I'm still well beyond that. And as long as I can hold beyond that, they're not going to gain too much ground, although the game at this point is pretty much lost. My teammates really weren't doing enough to make a difference. Wolf's Churchills just running into enemy AT guns and armour. In the centre, wasn't much of a chance of Spaff breaking through with his composition of forces. So I was left to wonder on the left side what I could really do against the Befehl Panther and Königstiger. But you can see here, I am fending them off. They don't want to come too close to my sappers with the bazookas. So that's all I really needed to do, just create an area of denial. And what I'm going to do is also afford myself 3 Spitfires. First of all, bring one in to bait the enemy aircraft. Then bring in another one afterwards to fully engage. So as you can see, I've actually brought in an FW-190 from off the map. And I'm going to engage that one with a 3rd Spitfire, whilst these Spitfires go for the Focke-Wulf 190s. So managed to get onto the Focke-Wulf 190 there. My Spitfire is going to be falling back thanks to the Focke-Wulf 190s here. I'm hoping that my 50 cals could make that retreat. Fortunately not. I do lose a Spitfire. But I also shot down an enemy plane as well. The enemy infantry is going to be moving towards me now. I've brought up my mortars, and these are going to be providing smoke on top of the Königstiger so that I can maybe get some infantry on top of them. But I'm in just such a dire position at this point. Smoke is just last resort, just to allow my infantry to actually make a difference, and also get my half-tracks into line of sight of this infantry without the tanks actually being able to kill them. But again, it's all very hopeful at this point. Not too much I can do. I'm playing French, I'm in phase C, I've got a Königstiger I'm up against. I can kill the cheap units, yeah, no problem. But those larger units, they need me to use smoke. And well, my infantry here are being surrounded as well. There goes that pocket. So even the front line just to my right is collapsing as well. And if this game had carried on any further, well, I'm not sure there would have been much left of me on the map. However, my teammates are still sitting here. That's okay. Either way, did my best with what I had. Phase A and Phase B, I definitely made a dent in the enemy. I was killing so many units. in Phase C it all fell apart, of course, as the German decks come back stronger. And since they had the lead for the entire game, that's a defeat after 33 minutes and 1 second. My opponents reached the conquest point limit. So if we jump to the team perspective, well, really tells the story. I was pretty much fighting 2 players for the majority of the game, and it shows with my 4,175 kills to 3,240 losses. The majority of those losses actually came towards the end of the game, and especially when the artillery came in onto all of my Phase B armour. That really set me back with that Pak 43 plus the rocket launcher combo. Really just decimated my push where it stood. Now at that point, arguably, I probably could have pushed elsewhere. I maybe should have helped my teammates make some ground at some point. But I was hoping that they would be able to look after themselves. In this case, you can see that Spaff did go positive, but just the participation in the game was incredibly low from both players, with their kills and losses being so low in comparison to mine. Whereas you can see the overall contribution of the opposing team was pretty even, and therefore they're working together much better. By the way, let's jump over to some of these kills. You can see the Stuarts definitely did their job in the early phases against all of those half tracks that came down the road, and also the ones that flanked. The Greyhound picking off the AT gun there alongside a couple of the infantry units, really good. The AT guns paying themselves off as well. This M10 certainly did a good job in the centre of the maps, supported by infantry. Again, more Stuarts paying themselves off, and even the M4A3 and the M4A2 getting some significant kills onto Pointe Shermans, Panzer IVs and so on. This M10 managing to get a Pointe Sherman and a Panzer IV. Got one of my Spitfires shooting down both of those ME-109s, and another M10 doing a lot of work. As for losses, we can see that it was pretty spread out, but this Pak 43 killed 2 M10s, an M5A1 and an M4A2. Also allowed the Pointe Sherman to pick off the M8 Greyhound. This was the Pak 40 in the centre that killed off some of my infantry in half tracks. The Befehl Panther started to wreck some of my units alongside the Königstiger, which actually only took out infantry in the end. So there you have it. That's the kills and losses. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. I actually found this game incredibly fun to play because it was such a challenge to try and fend off the initial push, then the flanking attack from the other player, then the combined push from both the players. And while that was all going on, I was hoping that my teammates would push the weaker flanks. However, they didn't, and therefore the enemy team gained the initiative throughout the entire game, and when it gets to Phase C, there's no chance that my deck can help fight back. That's just how it ended up, and that's all for now. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.